when I really first started getting popularity or getting some acknowledgement outside of the local Des Moines area was when I got my first offer, and really my first three offers. But my first offer came right after sophomore year had concluded. I remember I was sitting in my living room, like middle of May, and Coach Rhodes had called me and said he wanted to offer me, and I just remember being so ecstatic and like not really believing like that was a real thing, you know,
Yeah.
like
Or that happened at such a young age.
right, and it's just like, I had never heard of anyone else doing that, you know, and so it seems almost like a mythical thing because I had no one else to
Relate that experience to.
for it to use as reference.
Right.
And so when that happened, it was like somewhat surreal, you know, and I definitely remember crying a little bit, getting teary eyed, and just like realizing like, wow, like this is this is actually happening, you know, and I remember it happened like so organically and naturally, like it wasn't like it was, you know, I went out, I'm gonna go play this game and then this is what's gonna happen, the coach is gonna call me after or whatever. No, it was just a random day. I remember sitting in my living room playing 2K12, and the coach called me, you know, and it was just like, just happened so naturally and organically. I think that just really started to show me of like, that's how life is, you know,
Right.
and that's learning how to accept life, and those events gonna come out of you, are gonna come out of nowhere, and really they could be positive or negative, but you know, ultimately it's how
You're going to reap the fruits of your labor, whether it's good or bad.
exactly,
You know? And at that point for you, like, I know you're really a big believer on manifesting. And that was probably your first experience where you had set an intention, however back long it was, that you were going to play at that level. And so you did what you had to do to get there. And then it happened, seemingly out of nowhere, but it happened. And then same thing for me too. It's like you fast forward, your first offer was in May. My first offer was in June.
yeah,
It was or July, end of our baseball season.
yeah,
And I remember exactly vividly what my experience was with my first one too. And first off, to back up, I believe in 8th grade I had set the goal going into high school that I wanted to get a scholarship from the University of Iowa.
mm-hmm.
That was my favorite school. I wanted to play for Iowa. And you know, you got your first offer from Iowa State, your favorite school.
Yeah.
And then 2 months later, it was our last game of sophomore year. We were playing in the district or sub-state semifinal, I believe, against Johnston. And I had a really good game, and I remember the Iowa coach being there. And I remember calling you the next day because I had a great game, and I was like, hey, like, do you think I should call the coach? Like, and you're like, yeah, just call him.
Yeah.
And it was so weird how it happened because I had made the decision I was going to call the coach. And I don't know what I was going to say, but I was, you know, 15, 16 years old, and I was like, I'm just going to call this coach because he was at my game yesterday, and I showed out. And it was probably 20 minutes later, I was probably debating what I was going to say, but 20 minutes later, I got a call from him. He called me.
Yeah.
And same exact thing. He offered me on the phone. It was kind of different because you were kind of just chilling.
You're right.
And to me, it seemed like I was actively pursuing it because I was
Right.
going to call the guy, but then just so happened, just how life worked out is
Right.
he called me. But what was crazy is in 8th grade when I had set the intention that I was going to play at this level, I was hopeful that it would happen by the time I graduated high school. But that's how crazy it is when you set the intention and the goal, and it's clear and concrete in your head, and you take just massive action towards that goal, how quick it can speed up and happen. And then so from there, it was like a paradigm shift for me where it's like, damn, I accomplished like my goal. Like I can go to Iowa if I want. I was hoping I could go there by my senior year. Well, now it's here my sophomore year.
Yeah. It's like what do I do
Yeah,
now?
like do I take the foot off the gas pedal because I did it?
Right.
And do I just like commit to Iowa? Or do I expand more? And then you went through the same exact thing too, where it's like Iowa State, I'm sure for you growing up, seeing your dad play there,
Yeah.
Eventually, your
Games all the
brother
time.
going there. It
Right.
was like you've envisioned yourself playing for Iowa State. I envisioned myself playing for Iowa. So that's the first school you think about. But then it's like, how much more of a reach can I establish? How farther can I go?
Right.
And so that's when really things escalated with ATT, where it's like ATT is a thing. We know what it represented. It represented the mindset that we had, the lifestyle that we lived, and the standards that we would hold each other accountable to. And it was not letting your foot off the gas pedal. It's pushing it down even farther. How much more can you get out of it? So that's been for me when I started going crazy. Like I would just like I got that one, and I just try to snowball it. I try to build on that success, and I've heard you talk a lot about that. You knock one thing wrong off the ladder. What's the next one? How high? How much higher can you reach?
Yeah.
And so that's when too, around the same time where you started. When did you go to the opening? Was it junior year?
It wasn't until the next summer.
The next summer?
Yeah, well, so to backtrack a little bit too, my sophomore year, all I did was really play safety and defense.
Right.
I played a little offense, but I wasn't really a wide receiver, or that wasn't my identity as a football player, was offense.
Yeah.
But growing up, I had played wide receiver really since 6th grade with the Jaguars, and that's when I started like really watching football for specific players, watching Randy Moss, Jerry Rice, Marquise Colston, and guys like that, and paying attention to a certain position rather than just watching football just to watch football. And so I really, that's where I envisioned myself as playing a receiver in the National Football League. That's really kind of where it started. So when I ended up playing sophomore year, and I was just primarily playing defense, I think that's what helped me excel, having those 3 pick sixes because, I was using my wide receiver skill set or mindset
Just on the other
just
side.
on the other side of the ball, and using my brain defense that my dad had kind of coached me up on to be instinctual. But it wasn't really till my junior year is when I broke out as a wide receiver. So my first 3 offers really were for defense.
Just as probably an athlete.
Just as really an athlete, primarily just from my defensive film. But then my junior year is really when I made a lot of noise.
You're on the national scene.
And I expanded. My 3 offers at that time were Iowa State, and Nebraska, which were the 3 pretty close local schools. And by the end of my junior year, I believe I had. By the time I ended up signing in my national out of town, I think I had 7 or 8 offers. And I picked up like Cal, Stanford, Oregon, Notre Dame, LSU. I think that was it. But getting that attention from from those bigger schools really made me question. Not necessarily question, but like realize I'm getting the validation that I'm better than just this local scale of Central Iowa or the Midwest. That watching guys like DeAnthony Thomas play for Oregon and guys all around the country play for these different teams, and realizing that I could go out there and really do that, and kind of having that validation is really, I think, the second part of getting that momentum going. I can remember countless times throughout my entire career of getting the validation of a simple conversation or a simple like acknowledgement from some certain players, coaches, families, friends, or whatever interactions that helped me realize I was on the right path and I was doing the right thing. And those are kind of like the life checkpoints. It's like, okay, yeah. You know what you're doing is right. You know what I mean? And you're heading the right way. So once I got that first one,